Alright, hello again, this is Jeff Scott, your instructor for the online version of 152, 157 website development, XHTML, CSS for the fall 2015 semester at Blackhawk Technical College. I've been going through I had done an earlier lecture on the PowerPoint slides that go along with Chapter 14, and then I'd done another lecture that went through about the first part of the chapter. And now I'm continuing on. Alright, here are your major arithmetic operators. Equals means assignment, plus for addition, minus for subtraction. It's not an X, it's an asterisk for multiplication. And the / for division. There's also a modulus operator, which is a percent sign. For decision making, very simple. It's like this. That if condition has to go into parentheses. So again, if I come through here and I type in something simple like this, and I showed an example of this before, so you know, var A equals 27, var B equals 16, var C equals 0. If I'm checking for equality, it looks like this. Inequality looks like this. Greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. Those are your major operators that you're going to be using in there, okay? And they're shown here on the middle of page 575. And there's some more examples in here. I think that you can go through them and hopefully figure out, you know, what's going on. They're, in most ways, they're fairly simplistic in nature. And what I did, you'll notice with some of the stuff that's in here, I've already given you examples that are similar to these. All right, and I'm not saying that mine are better, mine are worse. They're just other examples, that's all. So here's a little JavaScript. If the quantity is less than or equal to 0, say quantity is not greater than 0. Otherwise, thank you for entering a quantity. So, I mean, again, the examples are very simplistic. And they give you an example, then they run it afterward. All right, this is something the next one is something I really didn't go into much when I was going over the PowerPoints, but you can use JavaScript when you are validating a form. So, such things as what are shown here. Required fields for name, email address, a required checkbox to acknowledge that you either want to accept or not accept an agreement, radio buttons for how do you want to be paid, you know, check, cash, credit card, etc. You want to check that values are numeric and they fall within a certain range. There's all sorts of things that you can use when you do this. And they do mention that if you want to do this, notice that if you write a function, this is validate form, a function can return a value. In this case, it's returning either a Boolean true or a Boolean value false. And those are the only two possibilities for a Boolean, true or false. So this is the practice one that they have here. Let's see if we can copy most of this in. And we'll copy this. Again, I apologize for the fact that it is the way it is here. So I've got to do it like this. I don't know if there's a better way of doing it or not. I guess I could key it in manually myself, but that would probably take longer than putting this in and trying to clean it up. I'll just leave the doc type, even though it shouldn't be really like that. I'll leave it like that anyway. Alright, I'm going to really try to look this over. So as soon as I'm done, we can hopefully run it. All these blank spaces are just, they confused the system, and that's why when you put those blanks in, and stuff doesn't work, all right, sometimes blanks are okay and sometimes they're not okay. And it's just the kind of thing, you know, if you say, well, what are the rules? Well, it depends on the language and it depends on what exactly you're doing. This blank right here after a double quote would be okay. This blank that's right here before the word style would not be okay because it would confuse the system as far as what the tag is. So like I said, and it sounds almost like it's a, what's the old saying, it's a cop-out or whatever, but it depends. It's a crummy way to put it, but it's the only way I know of putting it. Display block, that's okay to have a blank there. Margin, you can't have one after a hyphen. So that's why I'm saying it literally, really and truly just depends. And I'll do the best I can to try to clean all this up, like I said, as best I can. And if I leave a blank space in or whatever, we typically will know as soon as we run it because you're expecting to get one thing and you get another. We're down to the body section, so it's not too bad. Now you'll notice it says here on the line that I'm on right now, action equals http://webdevfoundations.net/script/form action or form demo. All right, and exactly actually looks, because sometimes when I copy like this it goes in there twice and I don't know why that happens, but it does. All I'm saying there is that that's going to the author's website. Okay, on submit equals return validate form. Probably should be more consistent too. Sometimes I'm leaving a few things on the same line, and sometimes I'm putting them on multiple lines. I'm actually just trying to do what I'm doing here for some readability. Somewhere, and I unfortunately didn't bring the book home with me, but somewhere I've got the actual source code for this. That would have been probably a lot better way to do it. Would have just been to use their source code. Such are the trials and tribulations sometimes when you're doing development work, all right? Well, it looks like we're coming towards the end of this, so it wasn't too bad. That's a few things, so I'm going to save this, and I'm going to save it as, we'll just call it validate.html. Now the actual validation that's going to go on in here, there's a few things that you could say that are, for lack of better words, are kind of wrong with this program. Again, we put the CSS right inside of our HTML, which is never recommended. And our JavaScript, we didn't write. The author wrote it, so we're calling the JavaScript from her site. So there it is. So notice if I click this, it doesn't show anything. Well, but how about if I put in here Jeff Scott, and for age I put in hello. Okay. So you can see there really isn't any error checking that's going on in here. All right. So that isn't very well done. We really always should be doing some error checking. So it's handling the form okay. All right. But what it should be doing in there is it should be checking to see if those are numeric, etc. And I don't know if she does that later or doesn't do it at all. But there it is. Oh, there we go. So let's start by adding code to validate the age. Edit the form validation.html and add this above the head, the end of the head tag. All right, so I'll grab that, copy. Whoops, sorry. So right above the ending head tag, so put it there. Script. Again, we're breaking rules again because we really should be taking this stuff and putting it into separate files. It's not that it doesn't work this way, of course it does, but it's not really the quote purest way, unquote, to do this. So if you put an age in that's less than 18, it comes back and it says your age is less than 18. All right, you're not an adult. And it returns false. Otherwise, it returns true. Got your age is valid. If we want, we can put an else in there. It looks like there isn't one. It looks like there should be one in there. Alright, else, and we'll alert the age is valid, and will return true. Alright, so that's the first little bit of JavaScript code that we've added in there. We need to put in our ending script tag, and it's there, but it's part of the comment out here. So, alright, so let's save that. So we are starting to do some validation here. So notice if I can put anything I want in there. If I leave that blank, your age is less than 18, you are not an adult. Well, let's put in 15. We should get the same message. 17. Really, 0.9, we should get the same message. 17.9. Should get the same message. You're not an adult. Alright, we're not checking for out of bounds stuff, so I could put 1111 and it says the age is valid. So we really could have checked for that also. The author did not right here. So you see some of the stuff. Okay? It says let's add code to validate the username data. So that's what they do next, right here. Alright, so they're going to add a little bit of code here in the blue. Alright, they're just checking to see whether or not that's empty. I'm not gonna put in everything they have there. I'm just gonna put in most of it. I'm not gonna put in this blue stuff here that they have. Alright. So, validate form. The first thing I would check before I check the age is I would check the username, because that's the first field in there, but then that's just the way that I code. Alright, so again, if the username value is equal to double quote, meaning there's nothing in there. Put in an alert, and it says the name field cannot be empty, and we return false, period. Again, I'll save this, and we're doing this, and if we get down to this, we can say that the username and the age are valid. Are both valid. Alright, so let's run it again. This time we'll leave the username blank, and we said name field cannot be empty, but it's not checking for valid. I can put anything in there. Alright, now the age is less than 18, so if I come in here and I put 33, username and age are both valid. So you can start to see that what we're doing in here is we're starting to do some validation. Alright, and quite often that's what one of the things at least that you're going to be using JavaScript for. Alright. Accessibility in JavaScript. One thing to realize is it's possible for users to turn JavaScript off. Alright, so JavaScript should be used, or one of the reasons that JavaScript is used is to do user validation on the client side. But you should always do the same validation also on the server side. Okay? Alright, some JavaScript resources. I'll let you look at those for just a sec. And let's check our time again, and then we'll go into jQuery. I know we haven't been going much, but I'd almost like to stop here so I can start the jQuery in a new lecture. So let's just see where we are. We're at 17 minutes, so I'm going to stop and then try to finish up with the jQuery in just a bit.